All right, IBAISL2 kids. Today we're going to wrap up 3.3b, or we're going to wrap up 3.3. We're talking about cumulative frequency curves. I've also heard these in other curriculums called cumulative frequency polygons. So I want you to know both words just in case on the IB exam and they say polygons and not curves. First thing we're going to talk about is to find a percentile. So perhaps you've heard the term, you get a test score, you got, an 87 on a test or something like that. And they were like, but you were in the 90th percentile. It would mean that you scored better than 90% of other kids, that you're like in the top 10% of scores. To find a percentile, you're going to multiply the total frequency by the percent you're looking for. Now, when I say that, I mean the percent as a decimal. So if you were looking for the 80th percentile, you would do multiply the total frequency by 0.8. And then you're going to see what data point corresponds with that in terms of the frequency. And I'll show you what that means. Just a heads up that we kind of have done some percentiles already. Like the lower quartile, or Q1, is known as the 25th percentile, because at Q1, like 25% of the data is under that point. Then the median is actually like the 50th percentile, and then upper quartile, or Q3, is known as the 75th percentile, because 75% of the data is underneath that point. Okay. We're going to use this example about the number of visitors to OMSI on 200 different days. So on, each day they record how many people come to OMSI, and they took 200 data points of all these people coming. On days there were less than 0 to 50 people, there were 16 days like that. On days where 50 to 100 people visited, there were 38 days where 50 to 100 visited. The first thing we need is we are going to add on, so I'll just continue this table a little bit, something called a cumulative frequency column. Now, cumulative just means all the frequencies added up until that point. So if I do a little zoom here, up until this point right here, there's only been 16 pieces of data. So the first one is going to be 16. The first one always matches. Now, for this next spot right here, it's going to be 16 and 38 added together, because it's the total frequency, or cumulative frequency. So 16 and 38 together is 54. Then if you add should I do it with a different highlighter? If you add all three of these together, that will be this spot right here. Or you can just take the 54 and add on 50, so that's 104. And then 104 plus the 36. The 104 plus 36 is going to be 140. Then tack on another 32 and you get 172. Continue in this fashion, you get 191, 197, and 200. Hey, that 200 sounds familiar. Wasn't 200... let me zoom out again. Oh yeah, we had 200 days in this thing. So the total the last entry in the cumulative frequency column should always be your total frequency. Or another way to say that is N. Now, we are going to take this whole column and our scores. The scores are going to become the x-axis. And then the cumulative frequencies will become your y-axis. Now, I've already sort of done this a little bit. Let me scoot up just a tiny bit. So notice that the scores go from 0 all the way up to 400. So here down at the bottom, I made these go from 0. I forgot to put a 0. all the way up to at least 400. I even went a little bit past that. Let's get the orange back. These guys are your y-axis, so they go from 0 all the way up to 200. So I made sure that these are here. Oh, look at that. I didn't label my axes. Bad math teacher. Okay, this is your frequency. And then the y-axis are the actual scores. So these are the number of visitors to OMSI. Now, we're almost ready to start this graph. Okay, if you look here, up at the top of the screen, from 0 to 50, it starts at 0 and goes up to 16. So you always put a dot on 0, 0. But then we need to jump up to 16 on our at 50. Because from 0 to 50, it jumps up to 16. So if I do a little zoom in here, we're going to have to estimate where 16 is on the y-axis. You're going to want to be as accurate as possible with these because later on we're going to use this graph to tell us certain things. So let's see, halfway would be about there. So let's back it off a little bit. Let's say it's like right here. That's about 16. And then I connect them with a line. Come on, buddy. Now the next row, from 50 to 100, it jumps up to 54. So here's the 50 to 100 interval, and it's going to jump up to 54. So if I do a little zoom again, it's going to start here where it was, and then jump up to 54. I'm going to say is like right around, if I had to trace it over, right around there. And then I'm going to erase these because later on I'm going to need space. So I think 54 is right about there. Did I mess up my tick marks? Oh, I forgot I moved the diagram. Okay, so yeah, that looks fine. Maybe it's a little off. I'll fix it. So 54, maybe around here. And then I connect those with a line. So you're constantly playing connect the dots. The next one, from 100 to 150, jumps up to 104. Remember, you're always looking at this range and what the frequency is. So now, from 100 to 150, we're going to jump up to, what did I say? 104. So 104 is just going to be a little bit past 100. So like here. Next, we're going to jump up to 140 from 150 to 200. So 140 is about right here. Then 172 from 200 to 250. 172 I'm going to estimate to be about right here. Then 191. So I'm tracing up from 300 and figuring out where 191 would be. It's probably right about here. Then I'll get rid of those because that was just helping me keep track of what I was doing. And then 197, so not much of a jump there. It's kind of flattening out. And that usually happens with these. So at 350, what did I say, 197 is like maybe right about here. And the last one, of course, is 200, the total frequency. So that's like barely a jump up right there. All right. So this is the cumulative frequency curve for this data. Now, we're going to do a couple things with it. We're going to estimate the lower quartile, the median, and the upper quartile. So we're going to estimate Q1, median, and Q3. So this is where the percentiles sort of come into place, because Q1 is like the 25th percentile. So we're going to take percentile and then multiply it by total frequency to figure out where that score is. So for Q1, it's going to be 0.25 times 200, because we have a total of 200 data points. So that is 50. That means the 50th score, I guess I should say it like that, the 50th score is going to be Q1, or the lower quartile. So I go to my polygon, do a different color, and then I find 50 right here. So the 50th, this is where Q1 is going to live. You trace over to the curve, so like wherever it hits, and then drop it down. Come on, do a straight line. Okay, whatever. It's a little bit past 100. So I think I'm going to estimate, I don't know, 105. So Q1 is equal to 105. Now I realize this is an estimation because my polygon is not perfect. Like my tick marks I put out and like tried to do my best. So it's not exactly 105, but it's probably somewhere near that. Now the median is going to be the 50th percentile, but when you multiply 0.5 with 200, you get 100. So back to my curve here, that means that this is where my median lives, but I have to trace it over to the curve, right about there, and then drop a line down. Sure, let's say it's 150. So this is median. So median is about 150. Then if you multiply 0.75 times 150, that means that Q3 lives at 150. So somewhere around here, this is going to be Q3. Once again, we're going to trace it over to the curve. I didn't mean to start there. It's probably somewhere around. Just get rid of it. Start it here. It wants to lock to the grid. Okay, so it's probably a little bit above that. We'll say it's like right here. Drop it straight down. What do you guys think that is? Let me see. 225 would be the halfway point. So what, like 210, 215? We'll say 215. So there's part of the 5-number summary. It's the quartiles. I mean, it's for lower quartile, median, and upper quartile. Now, what else do they want us to do with this? Turn down the lo-fi a little bit. Next, find an estimate for the 80th percentile. Estimate 85th percentile. So to estimate the 85th percentile, you take 0.85, which is 85th percentile as a decimal, multiply it by the total frequency, which is 200. So 0.85 times 200 is 170. That means the 170th score is the 85th percentile. So back up here, that means we go to 170, draw a line. It really wants to, okay, it's a little bit above that, so we'll say it's like, I think it's around 250. What does the book say? Yeah, 247 is what they said, so 250 is close enough for me. So 85th percentile is 250. So that's 250 people coming on that day. Then they say if you are told the minimum people that they had on any day was 25, and the maximum amount of people they had was 370, draw a box and whisker plot. So box and whisker, we already know from up here what the three middle things are from the 5-number summary, but then if you add this to the bottom and this to the top, those are the 5 things you need for the box plot. So let's see. Okay, I'm switching. My colors are all over the place on this one. You just need to put a number line underneath, and that number line needs to be at least, or needs to start at 25-ish and then go up to around 370-ish, because that's the smallest and biggest that we have. So the tick marks are up to you. Gosh, if we're going to go up to 400, let's just start at 0 right here. And then to get up to 400, let's do like 50s again. 50, 100. This part's up to you about what your tick marks can be. 250, 300, 350, 400. Yeah, that includes everything now. So the minimum score is 25. So I put an open dot or closed dot on that one. Then we estimated the lower quartile to be 105. So it's probably right around here. The median we estimated to be 150. And then Q3, the upper quartile is 215. So if that's 200, let's say 215 is right around here. And then the top is 370. It's like slightly under there. Then you connect your box. You put your whiskers on the kitty. There's the box plot. The last thing that they want us to do for this problem is you should always check for outliers, because this score right here could be an outlier, and then we'd have to change our box plot. So to check for outliers, we're going to use those two formulas. Q1 plus or minus 1.5 times, well, I guess I can write them down. It's Q1 minus 1.5 times the IQR is the lower, and then Q3 plus 1.5 times the IQR is the upper. Those are the bounds you have to check. So let's see, what were our, Q1 was 105 and Q3 was 215. So for this one, it'll be 105 minus 1.5 times the interquartile range, which is, what did I say? 215. 215 minus 105. And then for this guy, it'll be 215 plus 1.5 times 215 minus 105. So 105 minus 1.5 times the interquartile range, 215 minus 105. So the lower is negative 60. And it can be negative, that's fine. I realize you can't have negative people in this problem, but in terms of the outliers, just that is the number, negative 60. Then 215 plus 1.5 times the interquartile range is 380. So this is the low, and this is the top. Anything below this would be an outlier, and anything above this would be an outlier. So let's see, did we have anything above 380? Well, no, we didn't, because right here, they told us the biggest that they had was 370. So, no outliers. All right, you guys, that's all I got for you today. Happy studying. Your homework